immediately bust a U-turn. Like, when I say maniac, bust a U-turn in the middle of the street to be right behind her. I'm running red lights so I don't lose her, because I'm trying to figure out where she going and why she driving my man's car. Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. It's Jazzy here. If you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, thanks for your loyalty. So as you saw by the title, this is going to be a chit chat, get ready with me video pertaining to the time where I dated a man who was engaged. Now granted, I didn't know he was engaged until his funeral. Yes, I said his funeral. So if you want to hear me spill all the tea about this situation and you want to see how it is that I achieved this look, definitely stay tuned. So I'm going to start off by priming my face. I'm using the e.l.f. Poreless Face Primer. So let's jump right into this story time. I do apologize if it's all over the place. This happened, I believe, almost 10 years ago. So I'm basically going off memory. So let me start off by telling y'all how we met. So I'm gonna use the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Concealer in the color Light 50W to prime my eyelid to prepare it for my eyeshadow. So it was summer of, I can't remember the year, but almost 10 years ago. And you know, I live in Chicago, and anyone who lives in Chicago knows summertime's shy, the weather's nice, you know, everybody's out, you just want to get out, you just want to do stuff. So I was on my way walking to the Walgreens. The Walgreens was literally right up the street from my house. And I walked past this block and this guy was catcalling. And when I say he was catcalling, like, it was ridiculous. And I'm not really into that, so I just kept walking, or whatever the case may be. Now, mind you, again, I was going to a Walgreens. I'm not sure what I was picking up from the Walgreens. Yeah, but I was on my way to the Walgreens, and I decided to walk because the weather was so nice out. So mind you, he's catcalling or whatever, trying to get my attention, but I, you know, act like I don't see him, act like I don't hear him. I keep walking. So then he ended up pulling up in his car while I was walking. So, you know, he pulled up right on the side of me. He's in the car with another guy. I'm guessing that was, well, it ended up being his friend. And mind you, I'm more attracted to his friend than what I was to him. But, you know, it just is what it is. But he was very charismatic and very sweet and very nice. So I just decided to give him my number. The way that he approached me was really nice. So I'm like, you know, I'll give him a chance. I didn't think anything of it. I didn't think that he would call. And if he did call, I was like, you know, I ain't gonna really be into it like that anyway, so it is what it is. I did use my Laura Mercier setting powder to set the concealer to keep it from creasing. He ended up calling me right after he got my number. I didn't even make it to the Walgreens yet, and he blew the line up, okay? You know, I thought that was kind of cute because it did show his interest or whatever the case may be. So I didn't mind it. So after that day, we ended up meeting up that, I think it was the next day, that night. We ended up going out to like a nice little dinner or whatever the case may be. And I kind of was into him. He was really nice, really sweet, very gentle, which is usually what I look for. He just possessed all of those qualities, and I was just into it. So for my eyeshadow, I'm using the Berries by Juvia's Place. So from there, you know, we ended up hitting it off or whatever. We really liked each other, and we just, you know, ended up spending a lot of our time together, having a lot of fun, you know, doing a lot of stuff, going out, hanging out, blah, blah, blah. So let's fast forward to a couple years later. So now at this time, we've been dating for about 2 years. Now, mind you, within this, I think after like a year and a half, up into 2 years, we had become really rocky. I don't know, it was just my gut feeling that something just wasn't right. Like, I just felt like we were disconnected. We're not as close as we used to. We don't talk as much as we used to. We're not around each other as much as we used to be. Now, mind you, I would see him every day, but we used to see each other every day, all day, especially when I was on break. Mind you, I was in college at this time, but when I was on break, we were around each other every day, all day. Like, I would do everything with him. Like, we literally didn't part ways. So now, mind you, I will only see him maybe for a couple hours in the day or whatever, and it was just different. I know that that's still a lot of time, but it was just different from what we were used to as a couple or whatever. So I knew that something wasn't right. We started arguing a lot more. We were just very disconnected. Now, mind you, let's fast forward. I ended up getting into, well, I didn't get into a car accident, but my car was parked and someone ended up hitting my car. So I had to send it to the insurance for them to fix it. And you know how that whole process goes. They have like a mechanic shop that they want you to take your car to, whatever. And they picked up my car and they gave me a rental. Now, me and my boyfriend at this time are beefing. Like, we're not speaking. We hadn't talked. And I believe it was like maybe, it wasn't a full day, but it was a few hours. And that just wasn't our thing. Like, we would talk every day, and us not speaking that day, it was just weird. But I ended up getting the rental car. So now I'm in a rental. He doesn't know that I got into the accident because well, it wasn't an accident. Someone hit my car, but someone hit my car the night before. And that night before we weren't speaking. So he didn't know about anything that had happened. So now I'm in a rental car. He doesn't know what type of rental car I'm in because, as I told you, we're not speaking. So now, mind you, I'm sad because, of course, me and my boyfriend, we're not speaking. You know, we're used to speaking. And yeah, so I was sad. And I have a friend, we met in college, but she lived in the same area that we lived in. So how it was set up was I lived on the next block over with my parents at the time because I was still in college. His mom lived on the next block, which he was kind of like a mama's boy, so he would be at his mom's place all the time. And then my best friend at the time, she lived on the next block over from him. So we all lived in the same area. Technically, we would be in the same area. So she like, girl, come pick me up. We can go, we can hang out. You don't need to be sad. Let's go and do something. So I'm like, okay, cool. Let's go and do something. So I go and pick her up. Like I said, I'm still in the rental. I pick her up and now we're driving down the street. So mind you, I see his car coming up the street. He had a very noticeable car. Like, if you knew him, you knew it was his car because he had it tricked out. He had the rims on it or whatever the case may be. So you knew, like, there was no way that you didn't know that it was him coming. So I see the car and I tell him, I'm like, there you go right there. We haven't talked or whatever. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe, you know, he'll see me, he'll stop, we can talk. We're still in the same neighborhood as where we live and where his mom lived. We're not too far from it. When the car rides past, we're going in opposite directions. So I'm going this way and the car is coming this way. So I look in the car and it's a female driving his car. Now, mind you, I'm like, first off, I'm a little shocked because who is this driving his car? Secondly, he never lets me drive his car because he loved that car. Like, he treated it as if it was like a child. So it's like, who is this that you let me drive your car? So I immediately bust a U-turn. Like, when I say maniac, bust a U-turn in the middle of the street to be right behind her. I'm running red lights so I don't lose her because I'm trying to figure out where she going and why she driving my man's car, okay? So she pulls up in the alley. So they have his mom had a garage in the back of her house, and you have to go through the alley in order to get to the garage. So I pull up right behind the car when she was at the garage. He came out of the garage, you know, greeting her, kissing her, all this type of stuff. Now, as I said, I have a rental car and he doesn't know that I'm in a rental car. So he didn't know it was me sitting right behind them. So when I saw him kiss her, I jump out the car and it was just, I won't go into details, but it was a mess. Now, the person I am now, the woman I am now, I would have never reacted in the way that I reacted then. But I was 20 years old, I was upset, I was hurt, I was confused, I was wondering what was going on, so I reacted. Now, mind you, I'm with my best friend. She's in the car. She's trying to get me to calm down. She's trying to get me to leave or whatever the case may be, but I'm so upset that I'm just like, I'm gonna get to the bottom of this. Y'all know how it is when I don't know if you've ever been cheated on or found your significant other or your boyfriend, girlfriend cheating on you, but you just want answers, especially when you're in love. You just want answers. So I ended up leaving or whatever. I'm like super hurt. My friend is consoling me. I'm crying or whatever the case may be. I put him on block because at this time, you know, I'm hurt. I'm in my feelings. I'm like, I will never speak to him ever again. So as the days go by, I think it was like maybe 2 days went by. Now I'm starting to miss him. And like I said, we're used to being together every day, all day. So it was a little weird for me, you know, that he wasn't around. So not thinking, being emotional, being young, 20 years old, I take him off block. So now I'm gonna cut my crease with the ColourPop Pretty Fresh in the color Light 50, the same color that I used earlier. So when I take him off block, when I say he's blowing up my phone, like just blowing it up, why'd you block me, saying all this stuff. Now that he knows that he can get through, now he's trying to, you know, explain and give all of these excuses. And at that time I was in love, like I said, and I ended up falling for it. You know, I was hurt, I was confused. I just really wanted answers, to be honest. So from there, he asked if we can meet up. I, you know, agreed that we can meet up or whatever, and we can just talk about it. And we ended up meeting up. And during that time, he's telling me she means nothing to me. It's just happened. I'm sorry. He was apologizing. It'll never happen again. Saying all of this good stuff, you know. And of course, I missed him. I loved him. So I believed him and I took him back. I shouldn't have done that, but I did. You know, we live and we learn. So I took him back. Now we're, you know, doing what we normally do. We're speaking, we're talking or whatever. We're trying to figure out how to repair and to move forward, basically. So I go back to school because when all of this stuff happened, I was on break. And now it's time for me to go back to school, and I'm at school. Now, this best friend that I met in college, the one who lived on the other block from him, she ended up not going back to school because she ended up having a baby. So she had to stay in the city, you know, just for that help and that support. I go back to school. I end up getting a call from her one day, her telling me that she saw my boyfriend with the girl that I had caught him cheating on me with. They were at the gas station or whatever, getting gas for the car, and she ended up being at the gas station, and she saw him. So she calls me immediately, and I immediately, like, I felt in my heart, she's not lying. Like, first off, we were really close, and she's not the type of, she wasn't the type of friend that would have lied about that, which I do understand that sometimes, like, I do know sometimes people are sabotaging, but my friend wasn't like that, and she had my best interest, and I just felt in my heart truly that she was being honest. So I called him or whatever. Sorry guys if you can hear that. That's I guess the dump truck picking up the garbage. But yeah, she ended up you know, telling me. I ended up calling him to see you know, just what was going on. I wanted to get in touch with him. I wanted to let him know that, you know, she called me, she told me, what are you doing? What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. He didn't answer. And when he didn't answer, I knew 100% that it was definitely going down. So now I'm in school. I'm far away. My school is in a different town, and I lived in a dorm. So I can't get to him. I can't get to Chicago at this time because I had school the next morning. So I'm like devastated. Like, are you serious? I took you back and you've been lying to me. And you know, I realized that he didn't have my best interest. But of course, I'm 20 years old. I'm in love. He ended up calling me, telling me, you know, it's just a simple fact that, you know, I can't even remember what he said. It was a bunch of BS, but I was naive and I ended up taking him back. Now let's fast forward to, I think this was about a year later. My boyfriend ended up being murdered. So how that happened, I won't get into too many details, but he was basically stabbed, and it was a home invasion. So he ended up passing away. He didn't make it. Now, mind you, I was really close with his parents because, like I told you, he was a mama's boy. So I was around him a lot. So of course I'm around his mom a lot. And we're just what I thought was a family. You know, she would call me daughter, I would call her mom, and it just seemed as if, you know, we were a family. She knew about me, everything. So from here, when he passed away, how I found out he passed away was I just had a gut feeling. I had been calling him all morning and he wasn't answering. Now, mind you, I'm thinking in my head either two things. Either you're with someone else, because now I'm feeling a little insecure because he's not answering. He usually answered, or something had happened. And I just felt in my heart that something had happened. So I called his mom, she wasn't answering, called his dad, he wasn't answering. So I'm gonna go in with my foundation. I'm using the Il Makiage Woke Up Like This in the color 170. So later on that day, I'm calling him all day, literally. Later on that day, I ended up being able to get in contact with his sister. And his sister ended up telling me that he had passed away. So from there, I'm like, you know, devastated. Like, I'm like literally hurt. Like, I couldn't even, I had to, you know, stay at my friend's apartment because I just didn't want to go into a spiral. I was devastated because I was so in love. At least at that time, I thought I was so in love with this guy, and it was just devastating. Like, I was so hurt. So the weekend came, and I knew, of course, that they would come up with funeral arrangements, things of that sort. So I called his mom because, you know, I just wanted to get, you know, the information as far as the funeral and where it's going to be at, what, you know, what time, where, what's going to happen, things of that sort. And I can't get in contact with his mother. So this is quite unusual because I'm used to talking to his mom on the phone. Like, I was able to call her like I was her daughter. You know, just call her, hey mom, what's going on? What you doing? Stuff like that. And now all of a sudden she's not answering. So I just chalk it up and think, okay, well, she's mourning, so maybe that's a part of the reason why she's not answering. So I go home for the weekend, and, you know, I still can't get in contact with anyone to let me know the details of the funeral, nothing. So I decide to go over in the area where his mom lived, where he hung out a lot. I saw one of his friends. His friends ended up telling me, you know, where the funeral was going to be at because everything had already been planned. Everything had already been planned. I wasn't called. I wasn't given no information. And that kind of hurt me because, you know, I thought me and his mom were close. So from there, I end up finding out where the funeral was, finding out where the wake was. So the next day, and I literally found this out the day before the wake, literally. So from there, the next day I go to the wake. I take my mom and my dad because I just needed that support because, as I said, I was in love. I was devastated. So we go to the wake. I'm there and literally just hurt, mourning. I'm looking at this guy who, you know, I love so much, laying in this casket, whatever. So yeah, it was real hard on me. So I'm just sitting there, you know, doing my thing. His mom talking to me, his sister talking to me. They thank me for coming, blah, blah, blah. All of a sudden, the girl, the woman who was driving his car and the woman who my friend caught him with at the gas station, ends up walking in. Now, mind you, I am devastated, I'm hurt, I'm mourning. And this woman literally walks in, greets the family, and then all of a sudden it was like they didn't know me anymore. So me and my mom and my dad, we end up leaving the wake or whatever, going home. I prepared for the funeral the next morning. I'm just thinking, okay, well, maybe, you know, this girl, you know, maybe they knew the girl the way that they knew me. So don't think too much of it, which I try not to, because at that time I really needed my mind to be in a certain place because, as I said, I was mourning. I didn't want to fall into a depression. So I was just trying to make sure that, you know, I stayed in my right mind. So I'm going to use my ColourPop Pretty Fresh to conceal under my eyes. This is in the color 145W. So the next morning, I prepared to go to the funeral. Me, my mother, and my sister were on our way to the funeral. I took them because I just needed the support, of course. So we get to the funeral or whatever the case may be. Now, mind you, let me go back. So the day before the wake that I found out, when I found out from his friend where the wake was going to be, where the funeral was going to be, his friend was mentioning some things about, oh, you know, don't feel a type of way if you see some, you know, other women at the funeral. It's just not like that, blah, blah, blah. So he had mentioned, you know, those things, and it was kind of strange to me. But I paid it no mind because at this time, as I said, I'm mourning. So it's like, whatever. I didn't really pay attention to it. I didn't really think anything of it. Now, let's go to the day of the funeral. So me, my sister, and my mom, we get to the funeral or whatever. And you know how at the funeral, you're walking past the casket, everybody's viewing the body or whatever. So I view the body. His parents and his family are sitting right behind, you know, in the first row of the pupils, what do they call it at the church? You know, the seats. They sit in the front row. So I go over there, you know, I say my condolences, I hug them or whatever the case may be, and they hug me right back. So from there, I'm just like, okay, well, you know, it is what it is. I go to my seat. So I'm gonna blend this out with my beauty sponge. I'm gonna spritz my beauty sponge with the Morphe Continuous Setting Spray just to help with blending. So I get to my seat and my sister is looking at the obituary. So, you know, she signals my mother to look at the obituary, and then I see them, they like having little sidebar conversations. Now, mind you, I'm over there, I'm in my seat, and I'm just, you know, my head is just somewhere else. But I see them having, you know, little sidebar. I didn't think anything of it. And then my sister is like, I have to show you something. And I'm thinking in my head, like, what do you want? Like, now is not the time. And then she shows me the obituary, and in the obituary, it had that my boyfriend, the man who I thought was my boyfriend, it had in the obituary that he had a fiance, a loving fiance. Yes, child, a loving fiance. And at this time, I'm not only hurt because, you know, he's not here, he's dead, I'm mourning. I'm hurt because it's like, is that serious? Like, did he really have a fiance? Like, I'm confused. I got so many questions. I'm like, okay, did they just put that she's his fiance in here just because, like, you know, you have that doubt, but then you have the curiosity, and it was just so much emotion that was going on inside of me at this time that it was just too much. So I ended up walking out of the funeral because, child, I just couldn't take it. I needed a break because it was just too much. So I ended up walking out. My sister comes behind me to console me. And then the friend who had told me about the funeral ends up walking out behind me to talk to me and stuff like that. And at that time, I'm heated. I'm like, you know what? I don't want to talk. Get away from me. Y'all knew that this was going on and nobody told me. And then, you know, he's like, it wasn't our responsibility to tell you about it. And I'm just like, you know, just beyond hurt. So not only do I have the hurt because I'm thinking that, you know, my boyfriend, this man that I'm in love with, is not gonna be here with me anymore, but now I have to know that our whole relationship was a lie. And, you know, it's crazy because I feel like as a woman, we sometimes avoid those signs. And what I've realized, because I took a lot of time to heal after, you know, he passed away, I realized that us women, we go in with our whole hearts because that's just what we do. We are naturally nurturers, and some of us, especially me, we love hard, we love love, and we love to give love. But sometimes we don't take a step back to actually discern and to see what's really going on. I'm going to set my concealer with the Laura Mercier translucent setting powder. This is in the color Honey. So from there, after the funeral, you know, I just cut everybody off because I realized that the reason why his mom and his dad wasn't communicating with me was because of that reason. And I felt a little betrayed, because it's like, how could you call me your daughter? How could you invite me in your house? How could you, cook for me? We watch movies together and we have deep conversations. How could you do all this and open your doors to me and allow me in your house and act as if, I'm your daughter-in-law and that you love me, and you knew all of this was going on? So I was more than hurt. I felt betrayed. I felt empty. I felt confused. It was a lot of emotions that was going on with me at that time. And I knew, because I grew up in the church. So, I believe in God and I believe in the power of God. I believe that God works. And my thing is that I knew that at that time, because I felt as if I don't get this together, I'm going to spiral, because I was just so devastated and having all of those emotions and trying to deal with that. And then on top of that, I was in school. It was a lot going on. So I dug deep into my word. I got, closer to God, and I just needed answers. I needed healing, but I also needed answers. And from there, I started to pray for the spirit of discernment, because having to be in a situation like that, to me, is the worst. Like, I've never been the type of woman that I'm in a relationship and I couldn't even fathom wanting to have two different boyfriends. So let alone a man who's literally maintaining and, having both me and another woman at the same time. And I'm gonna contour my face with Can't Stop, Won't Stop mattifying powder. And this is in the color Rich. So yeah, I was hurt and I needed healing. So I sought God, and God helped me to realize that, because, once you go through something like that, you can fall into this trap of feeling like, oh, all men cheat, men ain't, SHIT, like the women be saying. And to me, that's really cursing yourself, because if you really believe in God and you really believe in the covenant of marriage, you'll know that God can do all things, and he can bless you with a man who is faithful, a man who wouldn't want to hurt you in such a way. And that's what I learned when I got closer to God, that, although this one person did me this way, and, before him, I had been cheated on as well. Don't allow, he helped me to realize that I shouldn't allow myself to slip into the trap of the enemy to make me think, or to say out of my mouth, that all men cheat. Because once you make that confession, that's you putting a curse in your life. So, I never said that, all men are the same, all men cheat and things of that sort, because I believe in the power of God. I believe that, because he allowed me to have the desire to want marriage, that he's going to bless me with, a God-fearing man, and he's going to place me in a kingdom driven marriage. So yeah, it was just a lot of stuff that I was going through at that time, that I knew that if I didn't, take a step back, cut off from dating, and to just seek God and seek healing, I would have been messed up. And I feel like that's where a lot of people go wrong, because a lot of people, they get cheated on, or they get done wrong in these relationships, and they get hurt, and they don't give themselves time to actually heal from that hurt. It's like jumping from one relationship to the next. And a lot of people look to others to fulfill them, and others to, kind of make them feel, whole. And really, in actuality, no man can make you feel whole. No woman can make you feel whole. The only person who can make you feel whole is God. But you have to seek him, and you have to become, one with him. And if it comes to you having to take, a season of singleness, that's okay, because, it'll feel like you're alone, but the Bible specifically says that God will never leave us nor forsake us. So we're not really alone. It's just that, we don't have anyone, close to us here in the flesh. So yeah, it was a lot that I had went through, It took a lot of time for me to heal. I think it took about 2 years for me to even attempt to, want to start speaking to men after that situation happened. But, God healed me and I got there. So I'm going to finish my face with the Maybelline Fit Me Loose Finishing Powder, and it's in the color Dark. I'm just going to dust off the setting powder and bring a little color back into my face. But yeah, I guess moral to the story is that I feel like discernment it would have played an important factor in that relationship that I was in. I would have been able to, pay attention to the signs and actually pay attention to how I was being treated, because of course he was saying that he loved me. He was saying he wanted to be with me. He was saying he wanted to marry me, but his actions weren't lining up with his words after a while. When we first got together, they were, we were happy. It seemed, legit, but I feel like when you first get with someone, you're always happy. It's the honeymoon phase. Y'all are new, y'all are getting to know each other. So it's fun, y'all are having fun. But when you get used to each other, then a lot of people start to get comfortable. And I think it takes the really being strong, but also a spirit of discernment to know, who to allow in your space and in your circle and who has your best interest. Because just because they seem like a nice person, which he did, just because they're charismatic, just because, they look good on paper, don't mean that they're good for you. And that's what I had to learn. So now I protect my space, I protect my energy. When it comes to new people, I always ask God, like, is this a friendship? Should I open up myself to this person? And when you do that, when you seek God about people, he'll always reveal to you who they are. And this way you can avoid that hurt, because it's unnecessary. You don't necessarily have to be hurt all the time, but that comes with definitely guarding your heart, making sure that, you stay in your word, you stay, just walking with God, and God will keep you in perfect peace, because people will come and definitely they will steal your peace. I'm using the Milani Baked Blush, and this is in the color Dolce Pink. But yeah, definitely comment down below if you've been cheated on. If you want to share your experiences, share your experiences. But I just want to let you guys know my story, allow you to come into my life a little bit, because I know that, my channel is new, but I want you guys to get to know me. I want you guys to, just get the feel of who I am. So I'm gonna go in with the NYX Born to Glow illuminating powder. I'm going to put this in the outer tear ducts of my eye. I'm gonna go right in the corner. And I'm gonna do the same on the other side. And then I'm just going to use my fan brush and just highlight in the areas, and highlight in the areas where us ladies normally highlight. So I'm gonna, on my nose, I'm gonna do a little bit on my forehead, Cupid's bow in here, and I'm just gonna blend that all out. But yeah, definitely, I think I was able to heal from that, because I think because I'm so strong now, a lot of people, especially my friends and my family, didn't know how broken I felt. I felt really broken, and I didn't go into much details about, what was happening that led up to, everything. But yeah, I was really broken. I felt lost. I felt empty. To be in love with someone who says they love you, but they're not loving you properly. There's a difference. It's a difference between someone saying they love you and actually being loved properly. And because he mishandled me, yeah, it was a very emotional time for me. So I think from here I'm gonna go back into the Berries palette and kind of smudge out my under eye a little bit. Yeah. But I think when it comes to relationships, you definitely have to have discernment, because I've noticed that a lot of people nowadays are out specifically for what they can get from a relationship, not what they can give. And because so many people are, you know, just give me, give me, give me. When you are the person that's like, I want to give, I want to give, I want to give, it's like you always end up getting the short end of the stick. And it sucks, but that's where that discernment comes in, because from the start, you'll be able to see, maybe not, you know, the first day that you are together. I'm using the Il Makiage Black Card Mascara. Of course, you won't be able to see it from when you guys first get together, because people put on these facades, basically. They act like who they think you want them to be. But then once they get comfortable, then you start seeing their true colors. And that's the reason why I said that when it comes to relationships, I give it time. You know, I always, you know, I never jump full force into it anymore. I used to then. And that's the reason why I ended up the way that I ended up. But nowadays, you know, I take it slow. I get to know that person. I ask tough questions, because you have to nowadays, because dating out here in this world is scary. It's very scary. So I'm gonna do my lashes, and I'm using my own personal brand. It's called Jazzy Luxe Lashes, and I'm going to use the style Flawless. These are 100% mink lashes. My website is coming soon. I'm going to start doing pre-orders very soon. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll be able to, you know, have the link over to where you can start pre-ordering. I would definitely enjoy the support. I'm actually gonna do my lashes off camera, because I'm just not good with doing my lashes on camera, and I'll come right back. Okay, I did my lashes off camera, and now I'm gonna line my lips with the NYX lip pencil. It's in the color brown. But yeah, definitely seeking God after that type of hurt helped me to get to this place. Never allow yourself to be broken and stay there, because no one deserves to have to feel hurt, and no one deserves to be hurt just because you're hurt. Like, once you get into another relationship and you're still broken, there is no way that you can be what you need to be for someone else, and you can't even be what you need to be for yourself, because you still have that hurt. So definitely allow yourself time to heal, however long that may take. Don't let anyone pressure you and say, oh, well, you need to date, it's taking you too long. Take how much time you need, whatever that looks like for you. I'm actually looking for okay, I think it's here. Yep, I'm gonna use my MAC. The lipstick I'm using is the MAC matte lipstick in the color Yash. And this is like a nude color. And I'm gonna go on top of this with the NYX Butter Gloss, and this is in the color Fortune Cookie. Okay, and I'm gonna set my makeup with the Morphe Continuous Setting Mist. Okay, so I'm actually done with this makeup look. So I'm gonna go off camera, I'm gonna do my hair, and I'm gonna put on an outfit, and then I'm gonna come back to you guys with the finished look. All right, so here's the finished look. This look is definitely giving me spring, summertime vibes. It's definitely appropriate for the new season. I'm not quite sure if I concluded my story time, but the moral to the story is definitely give yourself time to heal. If you're experiencing heartbreak or going through a breakup or maybe even experiencing death, definitely take time for yourself to heal. Take a step back, dive into the Word of God, get to know yourself and what you're feeling, what you need at that moment. And this way you'll always be the best version of yourself. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.